welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and I am so excited that you decided to take time out of your day to spend with me, because today we are doing a guide to witchy books. Because when fall time comes and spooky season comes around, I want to read about witches. I mean, I read about them all year round, but especially during this time. So I thought that I would share some witchy books that I have read and enjoyed, and then also give you some of the witchy books that are still on my TBR. Not necessarily saying that I'm reading to them this fall, but I'll get to them eventually. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with the ones that I am actually currently reading, and that is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. This is the first book in the Crimson Moth series, and this has been blowing up all over all of the bookish sites. I just hit my lip. This has been blowing up all over the bookish sites, so I know you probably know what this is, but it is a fantasy romance with a witch and a witch hunter, and this is like fast-paced, high stakes, all the things. And this is also young adult if you're looking for that. I am also in the middle of reading A Wolf Steps in Blood by Tamara Jure, and this is a cute little novella that the main character is a wolf, but the love interest is a witch. So that's why I am including this in. If you're looking for a cutie novella, I think you should definitely pick this one up. So yeah, those are the ones that I am currently in the middle of. And then we have another weird one. I can recommend the first two books, but because I haven't finished the series, it's like split between being a recommendation and a TBR books. So we're just gonna do it right here. And that is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. And this is the first book in the All Souls series. So this is currently a 5-book series, but I think Deborah says she got more to tell. Look, she says she got more, so okay. But this follows Diana Bishop, who is a witch, but she doesn't practice. She is a professor, or what is she doing? A scholar of sorts, and she is studying at the Bodleian at Oxford University, and she calls up this magical manuscript that basically details the creation and life of vampires, demons, and witches. And once she calls this manuscript up, everybody is interested in her and trying to get her to call it back up because it hasn't been seen in centuries. Nobody else can call it up, and so they are interested in Diana, trying to figure out who she is and why she can access this book. And one of those people is a vampire named Matthew, and they strike up a romance. It gives Twilight, but like an adult version, like an adult nerdier version. Let's go with that. And so yeah, it's a really expansive world. It's deep in history, it's suspense, it's romance, it's fantasy, it's all the things. So this is definitely a witchy read that I would pick up, especially during the fall. For sure. All right, now we are moving into other recommendations. First up, we have one of my favorite books of the year, and that is The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. I absolutely fell in love with this book when I read it, and even though it's not exactly like a fallish type book in my opinion, it kind of gives more spring, summery, but it's a witch book. So in this book, we follow Marigold, who decides to take her grandmother's place as the next honey witch, but the honey witch cannot fall in love. So when she, is doing her training and stuff, she runs into this girl named Lottie, and Lottie does not believe in magic at all. She doesn't believe it's real. And so Marigold sets out to prove Lottie wrong. And this is a sapphic romance. It also is kind of Regency-ish vibes. So yeah, definitely for sure pick this one up. Next up, we have the Kingdom of the Wicked series by Erin and this follows twin witches Victoria and Amelia. Essentially what this is, it's kind of like a murder mystery type situation because Amelia finds her sister Victoria murdered and she's trying to figure out who murdered her twin, but also who is out here just killing these witches in general. And she teams up with the Prince of Hell, Prince Wrath, and they are this unlikely team and they set out to figure out who is murdering witches. It's a romance as well. This is really fun. I really enjoyed the world that Erin built in this one, and this is my favorite book in the series. But I will say that going into this series, you need to know that this book starts out as YA, but the next two are very much adult, very spicy, and yes, so be aware of that. But yeah, this is a fun world and definitely a good witch book. Okay, so next we have Hunt on Dark Waters, and this is the first book in the Crimson Sails series by Katie Robert, and this is definitely a spicy read, and it is a romance between a pirate captain and a witch. It says Evelyn is a witch with a perfect storm of impulses, terrible taste in bed partners, sticky fingers, and a lust for danger. After she steals from her vampire ex and falls through a portal to another realm, she's fished out of the water by a band of seafarers and their telekinetic captain. She's immediately given a choice: join the ship's crew or die. This was really fun. I actually ended up liking this way more than I expected, and there's a lot of other creatures in this book as well. So it was a fun time. It's a pretty short book. Don't take yourself too seriously reading this book if you pick it up, but it's a fun, spicy time. So hear me out with this one, because did I absolutely love this book? No. But do I think it was good enough to maybe recommend to people? Yes. I think some people would pick this up and absolutely love it. Like I said, I enjoyed it enough to want to recommend it, but it just wasn't like amazing in my opinion. And that is Small Town Big Magic by Hazel Beck. Emerson Wild has built the life of her dreams, youngest Chamber of Commerce president in St. Cyprian history, successful indie bookstore owner, and lucky enough to have her best friends as found family. Done. But when Emerson is attacked by creatures that shouldn't be real and kills them with what could only be called magic, Emerson finds that the past decade of her life has been a lie. St. Cyprian isn't your average Midwestern river town, it's a haven for witches. When Emerson failed a power test years ago, she was stripped of her magical memories. Turns out, Emerson's friends are all witches, and so is she. So this was something that I would definitely not take serious. Like, it's just a fun little time. But I would recommend this to people who don't want something that's super like dark and super deep into a fantasy world. Like, this is essentially set in our world, just featuring witches, and I think it's like a light read. I didn't hate it. I had a pretty decent time with it, so I'm gonna add it to this list. Don't judge me. So I don't really read horror. I'm a scary girly and I don't like to be scared, but I like a little weird, like a little creepy, but not scary. So that is why I will suggest Cackle by Rachel Harrison for the girlies who want to get into the season, who want to get spooky but not scary. And this is definitely a little weird as well. It follows Annie, who has just been dumped by her long-term boyfriend, who she assumed she'll be marrying and spending the rest of her life with, but obviously he had other plans. So she takes this teaching job in this small town. She meets this woman who has this particular reputation around town, and this lady lives in a mansion like in the middle of the woods. But she's helping our main character become more unapologetic and more bold and more comfortable being herself. And so, they team up, and this person may or may not be a witch. Who knows? And then we have One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake, and this is basically a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but we are following two rival witch families, and it's different than I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, actually, because one, I'm not a Romeo and Juliet fan, and that kind of made me a little nervous. But Olivia. I should have known to trust Olivia, you know, because she can write. And this was really fun. There was a lot of twists, a lot of turns, and I just had a good time with this. It's set in modern day New York. So yeah, I had a great time with it, and I'm glad I gave it a shot because this definitely was better than I was expecting, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Next up, we have The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic by Brienne Randall. And good Lord, that is a mouthful. But this was a good read to me. It was definitely surprising. I wasn't expecting to like this as much as I did. We follow Sadie, who has always believed that the curse of 4 heartbreaks that accompanies her magic would be worth the price. But when her grandmother is diagnosed with cancer with only weeks to live and her first heartbreak, Jake McNeely, returns to the town after a decade, her carefully structured life begins to unravel. So I'm not even going to say much more than that, but yes, so it's basically following Sadie, who is trying not to have 4 heartbreaks because she thinks that once she has the 4th, her magic will be stripped from her, and of course she doesn't want that to happen. So yes, but there's also, like the synopsis mentioned, a grandmother with cancer, and we're working through that, and it's really a family story, small town vibes for sure. I think some people had issues that there were like scenes of church in this, but I mean, it wasn't like they were trying to push religion in any way. The characters just went to church and, you know, that was that. It was a part of their routine, a part of, you know, what they did. So I don't think it was as of a big deal as other people were making it, but I guess you should know that going in. So also be sure to check the trigger warnings if grief and cancer are something that you are sensitive to. And we also have another one of my favorites from this year that was surprising to me as well, and that is Bring Me Your Midnight by Rachel Griffin. And this is a YA witchy fantasy romance, I guess. And we follow Tana, who has had her life planned out since the moment she was born. She's supposed to marry the governor's son, Landon, and secure an unprecedented alliance between the witches of her island home and the mainlanders who see her very existence as a threat. The humans are afraid of them, and to keep the peace, the witches release some of their power into the ocean every month or so. Tana finds herself missing the ritual 1 month, so she has this abundance of power that she's not necessarily used to, and she meets this boy Wolf, who kind of throws her world into chaos. He represents everything that she didn't think existed, and his way of life is something that's very different for her. And so she has to decide, am I going to be who I'm supposed to be, or am I going to be who I am and who I want to be? So it was a very fun exploration of that, and I had a really good time. I think Tana and Wolf were so cute in my opinion, and I just love them so much. So this was a really good read. And last but never ever the least, we have one of my favorite books and series of all time, and that is Blood Like Magic by LaSalle Sandberry. And I could scream and shout about this book every day, all day. Like, I am obsessed with this book and with this story. So in this, we follow Voya, and these are black blood witches, period. And so with the blood witches, to get your magic, the ancestors will give you a task, and I almost got it the wrong name. And Voya has been tasked to kill her first love in order to get her magic. And Voya is like, I ain't never been in love. I don't even know what love looks like. And now I'm supposed to not only find my first love, but then kill them. Like, I'm supposed to find them, fall in love, kill them. Like, it's just too much. And of course, this is time sensitive, and so this is definitely a journey for sure. But I love this book so much. I love the side characters, the family that we get in this, and there's also kind of like a sci-fi touch to this as well, and it's just a great time. Like, I absolutely love this book so much. And yeah, I'm gonna keep it short because I could just keep talking. Alright, so now I'm pulling out my laptop to pull up the synopsis from some of these books for my TBR, so I do not get them wrong. So first up, we have The Last Witch in Edinburgh, and this is by Marielle Thompson, and it says, this lush atmospheric novel blends witchcraft, queer love, a vibrant Edinburgh setting, and Scottish folklore for a propulsive and emotional story exploring what it means to resist the patriarchy and find your voice. In an alternate Edinburgh of 1824, every woman lives in fear that she will be the next one hanged for witchcraft. All it takes is invoking the anger or the desire of the wrong person. Nellie Duncan, beautiful and unwed, keeps to herself until she encounters the Ray Women's Apothecary. There, fiery Jean Ray and the other women provide cures and teach others that they too can aid the winter deity, embracing her characteristic independence, agency, and craft, in turn becoming witches themselves. So yeah, this sounds pretty cool, and I'm excited to get into this one. Next up, we have Her Majesty's Royal Coven, and this is by Juno Dawson. At the dawn of their adolescence, on the eve of the summer solstice, 4 young girls took the oath to join Her Majesty's Royal Coven, established by Queen Elizabeth I as a covert government department. Now, decades later, the witch community is still reeling from a civil war, and one of the girls is the reigning high priestess of the organization. So basically, these girls have to team back up after, I guess, their stint in the coven is over and kind of fix some issues or something like that. But yes, this sounds super cool and super interesting. And then we have Witchbound, Book 1 by Sable Cross. Book 1 is the first book in the blood magic duet. Immerse yourself in the intoxicating, dangerous romance between a cunning vampire queen and the alluring young witch who steals her unbeating heart. And this is a steamy female vampire romance, vampire witchy romance. All right. Moving on, we have The Poisons We Drink by Bethany Baptiste. And this is a young adult book that says, in a country divided between humans and witchers, Venus Stoneheart hustles as a brewer, making illegal love potions to support her family. Love potions is a dangerous business. Brewing has painful, debilitating side effects, and getting caught means her death or a prison sentence. But what Venus is most afraid of is the dark, sentient magic within her. Then an enemy's iron bullet kills her mother. Venus's life implodes. Keeping her reckless little sister Janice safe is now her responsibility. When the powerful Grand Witcher, the ruthless head of her coven, offers Venus the chance to punish her mother's killer, she has to pay a steep price for revenge. The cost? Brew poisonous potions to enslave DC's most influential politicians. As Venus crawls deeper into the corrupt underbelly of her city, the line between magic and power blurs, and it's hard to tell who to trust, herself included. And this sounds really cool. I definitely think that we should be supporting this book and this author anyway, because Bethany Baptiste is one of the authors who was affected by the faking of ratings and postings and reviews that one author had at that time. Y'all remember that scandal? If not, look it up. But anyway, we should definitely be supporting Bethany Baptiste in any way that we can to, help her out, because I was wrong. That was wrong. Then we have Remedial Magic by Melissa Marr, the first book in the A Course in Magic series. And it says, the magicians meet one last stop in this brand new fantasy romance about an unassuming librarian who, 1, has fallen in love with a powerful witch, 2, has discovered that she is also a witch, and 3, must attend magical community college to learn how to save her new world from complete destruction. And this sounds chaotic, this sounds fun, it also sounds bookish, and I love a bookish book. We got a librarian and witches, cute, right? Sounds super cute. And we also have Wild Magic by Alexandra Ivy. At 16, when Perry's wild magic first appeared, she was forced to flee her Wyoming ranch and her suddenly murderous family to save her own life. On the East Coast, tutored by mages who run the Witches Brews bookstore cafe, Perry's world seems magically tranquil until her estranged mother and a coven of witches are slaughtered. Now, to solve the violent mysteries of her past, she must put her trust, body, and soul in a sensual, I can't talk, an essential immortal who is every woman's darkest fantasy. The golden-eyed vampire Valen has never wanted more than to claim an untamed female like Perry. lured into each other's orbit and working together against a resurrected evil brings them intimately closer to danger, blood betrayals, all-consuming passion, and to sacrifices that must be made to save themselves and the world. Okay. Yeah, so this also sounds like a book that features a lot of creatures, but definitely witches are in the mix, and our main character is a witch. And then we have another 2024 release, and that is Blood at the Root by Ladarian Williams. 10 years ago, Malik's life changed forever the night his mother mysteriously vanished and he discovered that he had uncontrollable powers. Since then, he has kept his abilities hidden, looking out for himself and his younger foster brother, Tay. Now at 17, Malik is finally ready to start a new life for both of them, far from the trauma of his past. However, a daring act to rescue Tay reveals an unexpected connection with his long-lost grandmother, a legendary conjurer with ties to a hidden magical university that Malik's mother attended. At Cayman University, Malik's eyes are open to a future he never could have envisioned for himself, one that includes the reappearance of his first love, Alexis. His search for answers about his heritage, his powers, and what really happened to his mother exposes the crack in their magical community as it faces a reawakened evil dating back to the Haitian Revolution. Together with Alexis, Malik discovers a lot beneath the surface at Cayman, feuding covens and magical politics, forbidden knowledge, and buried mysteries. So this is a YA, and it's basically Black witches at like an HBCU type place, and it just sounds like it's a good time for sure. Next, we have the Woodsmoke Women's Book of Spells by Rachel Greenlaw, and I think this is actually an October 2024 release. Carrie Morgan ran from Woodsmoke 10 years ago, and the decision has haunted her ever since. Spending a decade painting and drifting around Europe, she tries to forget her family's legacy and the friends she left behind. But the Morgan women have always been able to harness the power of the mountains surrounding the town, and their spells and curses are sewn into the soil. The mountains, they say, never forget. Sure enough, when Carrie's grandmother dies and leaves behind her dilapidated cottage, she returns to renovate, certain she will only be there for one winter. She meets Matthew. Ooh, I can't stand hearing nature out the window. It creeps me out. But anyway, she meets Matthew, a newcomer who offers to help refurbish the cottage. Before long, and despite warnings from her great aunt Cora of the old stories, Carrie finds herself falling for the charming stranger. But when the frost thaws in spring, Matthew goes missing. Carrie is convinced he's real and he's in danger. As she fights her way across the mountains to find him, she must confront all the reasons why she left Woodsmoke and decide whether the place she spent the last decade running from is the home she's been searching for. Yeah. Sounds pretty cool. We have made it to our last book, and that is going to be Vinco by Sherry Demeline. Lucky St. James is bored. She lives with her cantankerous grandmother Stella in a tiny Toronto apartment and has been waiting for something to happen, something different, something more. Then one night, a strange, irresistible impulse seizes Lucky. She burrows into an old passageway and finds a tarnished spoon humming with otherworldly energy, etched with a long-nosed witch and the word Salem. Enter Vinco, a front company fueled by dark money. Vinco's witches hide in plain sight where women gather. Tupperware parties, mommy and me classes, and suburban book clubs. Since colonial times, they have anticipated the moment the 7 spoons, scattered by the martyrs of Salem, will come together to ignite a new era, returning women to their rightful power. But as the spoon falls into place, a very powerful adversary is stalking their every move. To find the last spoon, Lucky and Stella embark on a rollicking and dangerous road trip to the darkly magical city of New Orleans, where a final reckoning will determine whether Vinco will usher in a new beginning or be forced underground forever. Yeah, this sounds pretty cool. So with all of that being said and all of that being shown, we are at the end of this video. Thank you so much for listening to me yap about some witchy books. I hope that you found something that sounds interesting to you and you decide to pick it up. Let me know if you do. Also, let me know if you have any recommendations for witchy books that I can pick up, because like I said, I read them all year long. I love a witchy story. So yes, Thanks for watching, and I hope that you have the best day that you possibly can, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.